Have you ever felt that weight in your chest when you think about your children or grandchildren? That silent worry that keeps you awake at night, wondering if they are safe, if they are making the right choices, if God is truly watching over them. You are not alone in this sacred anxiety. For centuries, mothers, fathers, and grandparents have carried this same tender burden, this beautiful responsibility of lifting the ones they love most into the presence of God. And Saint Teresa of Avila, that great doctor of the Church and master of prayer, discovered something profound in her intimate union with God. She learned that prayer is not just about speaking words into the void. It is about placing the lives of your loved ones in God's hands at specific moments when heaven and earth meet with extraordinary intensity. These are not random times. They are sacred doorways, windows of grace that open wide when you know how to recognize them. What if I told you that there are 3 specific times each day when your prayers for your children and grandchildren carry a special power? Times when God is particularly attentive, when grace flows more abundantly, when the spiritual realm responds with greater immediacy to a parent's cry. This is not superstition or magic. This is the wisdom of centuries of Christian tradition, confirmed by saints who lived in constant communion with the divine. Saint Teresa understood this deeply. She taught her spiritual children that organizing your heart in time for God is not just pious advice, it is a strategic act of love. When you pray at these specific hours, you are not simply hoping your prayers reach heaven. You are positioning yourself at the precise moments when heaven bends closest to earth. And in that sacred alignment, miracles happen. Lives are protected, hearts are changed, destinies are redirected. Are you ready to discover these 3 powerful times? Before we go deeper, let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly believed that your prayers could change the course of your child's life? Not just comfort you, not just give you peace, but actually alter reality, shift circumstances, protect them from harm they cannot even see coming. Many people pray, but few pray with the confidence that their words are shaping eternity. Saint Teresa would say that confidence comes from understanding the nature of time itself. Not all moments are equal in the eyes of God. Some moments are thin places, where the veil between heaven and earth becomes almost transparent. And when you pray during these moments, your intercession carries a weight, an authority, a power that transcends ordinary petition. This is not because God loves you more at certain times. It is because you are aligning yourself with the rhythm of divine grace that has been established since the foundation of creation. The Church has always known this. The liturgy of the hours, the tradition of praying at set times throughout the day, is built on this profound truth. So imagine this. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and knowing with absolute certainty that the first words you speak over your children will set the trajectory for their entire day. Imagine stopping at noon, in the middle of all your responsibilities, and offering a prayer that connects your loved ones to the very sacrifice of Christ on the cross. Imagine lying down at night, knowing that as you entrust your children and grandchildren to God in the silence, He is wrapping them in peace while they sleep, healing their invisible wounds, strengthening their hearts for tomorrow's battles. This is not wishful thinking. This is the reality of prayer when it is practiced with intentionality, with faith, and with the wisdom that Saint Teresa spent her life discovering and sharing. You are about to learn something that will transform not just how you pray, but how you see your role as a spiritual guardian over the ones you love most. Are you ready to step into this ancient and powerful rhythm? The first moment of power is the morning, the instant you open your eyes to a new day. Saint Teresa taught that the first action of your heart upon waking should be an act of surrender to God. Why? Because at dawn, your soul is still free from the distractions and demands of the world. Your mind hasn't yet been cluttered with worries. Your heart has not yet been hardened by the day's frustrations. In this pristine moment, you are most receptive to divine grace. The Church has always recommended beginning the day with prayer because it orients your will toward God from your very first thought. When you pray for your children and grandchildren at this hour, you are not just asking for protection. You are positioning them under God's covering before they even step into the chaos of the day. You are asking the Lord to prepare their path before they encounter any trial. Think about it. Before your child faces that difficult conversation at work, before your grandchild walks into that tempting situation, before any harm can reach them, your morning prayer has already gone ahead of them like a guardian angel. Let me tell you what this looks like in practice. When you wake up, before you check your phone, before you think about your to-do list, before you do anything else, make the sign of the cross. Feel the weight of that gesture. You are marking yourself and your loved ones with the symbol of Christ's victory. Then speak their names out loud. Say something like this: Lord, I place my children and grandchildren under your protection today. Let no evil reach them. Let your will be done in their lives. Do you see what you are doing? You are not just wishing them well. You are invoking divine intervention at the threshold of a new day. You are asking God Himself to stand guard over them. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches us that Christian prayer flows from a heart turned toward God from the beginning of the day, and the Gospel of Luke reminds us that morning announces the light of God that dispels darkness. When you pray for your children at dawn, you are asking God to be their light before darkness even has a chance to threaten them. This is not a small thing. This is profound spiritual warfare disguised as a simple morning prayer. But here is what most people do not understand. The power of morning prayer is not just in the words you say. It is in the priority you establish. When you give God the first moments of your day, you are declaring that He comes before everything else. Before work, before breakfast, before your own needs. And when you place your children and grandchildren in that first offering, you are telling heaven, these are my treasures, and I am entrusting them to the only one who can truly protect them. Saint Teresa knew that this act of prioritization carries spiritual authority. She lived this reality every single day of her reformed Carmelite life. And what she discovered is that God honors the prayers of those who seek Him first. Not because He is petty or demanding, but because when you seek Him first, you align yourself with the order of creation. You acknowledge that He is the source of all protection, all provision, all wisdom. And in that acknowledgement, you open channels of grace that would otherwise remain closed. So when you pray for your children at dawn, you are not just performing a ritual. You are participating in a cosmic reality where your faith activates divine power. Now let me ask you something personal. How many times have you woken up worried about your children, only to spend the day drowning in that anxiety without ever really bringing it to God? How many times have you felt helpless, watching your grandchildren make choices you cannot control, feeling powerless to protect them from the dangers of this world? Saint Teresa would gently but firmly tell you, you are never powerless when you have access to God. Your prayers are not weak little wishes floating into nothingness. They are powerful spiritual forces that move the heart of God and change reality. But you have to pray them. You have to actually do it. And the morning is your first opportunity every single day to exercise that power. When you make this a habit, when you consistently give God the first moments of your day and place your loved ones in His hands, something shifts, not just in them, but in you. You begin to live with a deeper peace, knowing that you have done the most important thing you could possibly do before the day even begins. You have placed your children under the shadow of the Almighty, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can overcome that covering. The second moment of power is noon, the midpoint of the day, when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky. This may seem like an unusual time to stop and pray, especially in the middle of work or responsibilities. But Saint Teresa, wise in uniting the ordinary rhythms of life with sacred practice, understood that noon is a liturgical pause, a spiritual high point. In the traditional prayer of the Church, there is the hour of sext, which is prayed at noon as a time of thanksgiving and petition. It is also the hour when, according to tradition, Christ hung on the cross under the blazing sun, offering his life for the salvation of the world. When you stop at noon to pray for your children and grandchildren, you are connecting their lives to the very sacrifice of Jesus. You are placing them at the foot of the cross, where every grace flows from. This is not a coincidence. This is divine design. Noon is when heaven and earth intersect in a unique way, and your prayers at this hour carry a weight that transcends the normal flow of time. What should you do at noon? Even if you are busy, even if you only have 60 seconds, stop what you are doing and make an act of consecration. Say something like this: Jesus Christ, I offer this day and the lives of my children and grandchildren to your sacred heart. Or pray one Our Father, one Hail Mary, with explicit intention for each of them by name. The beauty of this practice is that it does not require you to be in a church or in perfect silence. You can do this at your desk, in your car, while making lunch. The key is intentionality. When you pause at noon and turn your heart toward God, you are acknowledging his presence in the middle of your day. You are reminding yourself that everything, including the ordinary activities you are engaged in, exists under his gaze. And when you specifically pray for your children at this hour, you are asking God to watch over them in the middle of their day too. While they are at work, at school, facing challenges you may never even know about, your noon prayer surrounds them with grace. It is like creating a spiritual shield that refreshes itself every single day at the exact moment when the world is most demanding. The Church has always understood the power of praying at set times. The Catechism teaches that personal and communal prayer at determined hours has value as a constant remembrance of God. And the book of Acts shows us that Peter went up to the rooftop to pray at noon. This was not random. Even in the early church, believers recognized that certain hours of the day were particularly suited for prayer. When you adopt this practice of stopping at noon to pray for your loved ones, you are joining a tradition that stretches back 2,000 years. You are standing in solidarity with countless saints, mothers, fathers, grandparents who did the same thing throughout history. And you are tapping into a rhythm of grace that has been proven effective across centuries. Saint Teresa would tell you that prayer at noon is an offering. You are taking everything that has happened so far in the day, all the joys and struggles, and placing it at the feet of Jesus. And you are asking him to take the rest of the day and fill it with his presence for the ones you love. Think about it this way. Noon is the moment when the day could go in any direction. The morning has passed, but the afternoon and evening are still ahead. Your children and grandchildren have already faced some challenges, made some decisions, encountered some situations, and more is coming. When you pray at noon, you are essentially asking God to course correct anything that needs to be realigned and to strengthen them for what is still ahead. You are not waiting until the end of the day to see what happened and then react with worry. You are proactively interceding in real time while the day is still unfolding. This is the genius of praying at noon. You are inserting your faith into the middle of the story, right when it matters most. And God responds to that kind of bold, timely intercession. He honors the parent who does not wait for problems to be over, but who stands in the gap while the battle is still raging. So when you stop at noon and pray, even if it feels like a small gesture, you are actually doing something incredibly powerful. You are stepping into your role as a spiritual warrior, fighting for your children and grandchildren in the realm where the real battles are won or lost. Not with weapons, but with faith. Not with control, but with surrender. And in that moment, heaven takes notice. The third moment of power is the night, right before you go to sleep. Saint Teresa taught that the night is a time of reconciliation with God and a review of the day that has passed. In her writings, she urged believers to see the hand of God in everything. even in the shadows and difficulties. The Church uses night prayer, known as compline, as a moment of surrender, protection, and forgiveness. And it is an especially powerful time to intercede for those you love while they sleep. There is something profoundly tender about praying for your children and grandchildren at night. While they are resting, perhaps unaware of your love, you are standing watch over them spiritually. You are asking God to guard them in their most vulnerable state, to bring peace to their minds, to heal wounds they may not even know they carry. This is the prayer of a parent's heart, the kind of love that never sleeps, that never stops caring, that continues to intercede even when no one is watching. And God sees this. He knows the depth of your concern, and He responds to the prayers you whisper in the darkness. What does this look like practically? Before you lie down to sleep, take a few moments to pray. You can do a brief examination of conscience, offering your children and grandchildren to God as you reflect on the day. You can pray the night prayer from the Liturgy of the Hours, or simply a Hail Mary asking for protection and peace. You can say something like this: Jesus, I trust you with my children and grandchildren. Watch over them tonight and lead them into your peace. The act of consecrating them to God before you sleep is an act of profound faith. You are acknowledging that you cannot protect them through your own power. You cannot control every situation they face, every choice they make, every danger that lurks. But you can place them in the hands of the one who never sleeps, who never stops watching over those He loves. The Catechism reminds us that Christians are called to offer the entire day to God in prayer, especially as they prepare for rest at night. And Psalm 4 declares, "In peace I lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." When you pray for your children at night, you are asking God to do for them what the psalmist describes, to give them peace, to make them dwell in safety, to surround them with His protection, even as they are unconscious and unaware. But there is something deeper happening here. Night is when the soul tends to reflect more profoundly. The noise of the day fades, the distractions quiet down, and in the silence, truth emerges. When you pray for your children and grandchildren at night, you are asking God to work in them during this sacred time. While they sleep, He can speak to their hearts in ways that are impossible during the chaos of waking hours. He can heal emotional wounds, bring clarity to confusion, strengthen their resolve against temptation. Your prayer at night creates space for God to do His work in them without interference. It is like you are opening a door and saying, "Lord, while they rest, you work. While they sleep, you heal. While they are still, you move." And God honors that invitation. He enters into their dreams, their subconscious, their spirit, and He does what only He can do. He transforms them from the inside out. And it all begins with your simple, faithful prayer before you close your eyes. Let me share something with you. The prayers you say at night for your children and grandchildren may be the most powerful prayers you ever pray, precisely because they are offered in the most humble circumstances. There is no audience, no recognition, no immediate feedback. You are simply a parent or grandparent, alone with God in the quiet darkness, lifting up the names of those you love. This is pure love. This is faith stripped of all performance. And this is what moves the heart of God most powerfully. Saint Teresa knew this. She understood that the most profound spiritual work often happens in hiddenness, in the secret place where only God sees. When you pray at night, you are entering that secret place. You are joining the countless mothers and fathers and grandparents throughout history who have knelt in the dark and poured out their hearts for their children. And your prayers join that great river of intercession that flows through time, carrying the weight of generations of love. This is your legacy. Not wealth, not accomplishments, but this, that you stood watch in the night and asked God to protect the ones you love. That is a legacy that echoes in eternity. So let me bring this all together for you. You now know the 3 most powerful times to pray for your children and grandchildren. Morning, noon, and night. Dawn, midday, and darkness. 3 moments when heaven opens wide and your prayers can reach the throne of God with special power. But here is the question. Will you do it? Will you make the decision today to organize your heart in time for God, to commit to this rhythm of intercession, to become the spiritual guardian your children and grandchildren desperately need, whether they realize it or not? This is not about adding more religious duties to your already busy life. This is about recognizing the most important thing you can do for the people you love most. You cannot control their choices. You cannot force them to believe, to obey, to make wise decisions. But you can pray, and when you pray at these 3 sacred times, you are unleashing divine power into their lives in ways you may never fully understand until eternity. You are surrounding them with grace, protection, wisdom, and love that comes from the very heart of God. Think about what you are really doing when you commit to this practice. At dawn, you are asking God to direct and protect them as the new day begins. You are covering them before they even step out the door. At noon, you are offering their lives to the sacrifice of Christ, connecting them to the source of all grace and redemption. You are praying over them in real time while they are in the middle of their struggles and challenges. At night, you are asking God to protect them with the peace that only He can give, to heal their wounds, to speak to their hearts while they rest. You are creating a continuous covering of prayer over their lives, a shield that refreshes itself 3 times a day, every single day. Can you imagine the cumulative effect of this kind of faithful intercession over months, years, decades? Can you imagine the battles that are won, the disasters that are averted, the hearts that are turned, simply because you decided to pray at 3 specific times each day? This is not a small thing. This is one of the most powerful spiritual practices you could ever adopt. Saint Teresa of Avila would tell you that praying at these times is not about magic or superstition. It is about aligning yourself with the rhythm of grace that God has woven into creation. It is about being intentional with your intercession, about recognizing that every moment has its own grace, and that God listens always to the prayer of the righteous. When you pray faithfully at morning, noon, and night, you are demonstrating persistent love. You are showing God that you trust Him enough to keep coming back, to keep asking, to keep interceding no matter what. And that kind of persistent faith moves the heart of God. Scripture tells us that the persistent prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. You are that righteous person. Your love for your children and grandchildren makes you righteous in God's eyes. And your persistent prayers, offered day after day at these sacred times, are powerful beyond measure. They are changing things in the spiritual realm that you cannot see. They are protecting your loved ones from dangers they will never know about. They are preparing the way for miracles that have not yet manifested. So here is my challenge to you. Starting tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, before you do anything else, pray for your children and grandchildren. Speak their names. Place them under God's protection. Consecrate their day to the Lord. Then when noon arrives, no matter what you are doing, stop for just a moment and offer them again to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Pray one Hail Mary. Make one act of consecration. It only takes 60 seconds, but it connects them to the cross of Christ in the middle of their day. Finally, before you go to sleep, pray for them one last time. Ask God to watch over them through the night, to bring them peace, to heal their hearts, to guide their steps. Do this tomorrow, then do it again the next day, and the day after that. Make it your rhythm, your discipline, your sacred routine, and watch what God does. You may not see immediate results. In fact, you probably will not. But that does not mean nothing is happening. In the invisible realm, where spiritual battles are fought and won, your prayers are making all the difference. Trust the process. Trust God. And most of all, trust that your love expressed through faithful prayer at these 3 powerful times, is one of the greatest gifts you could ever give to your children and grandchildren. Let me leave you with this truth. Wherever your children and grandchildren are right now, whether at school, at work, at rest, or in difficulty, the grace of God can surround them continuously because you are praying. When you commit to praying at morning, noon, and night, you are creating a covering that never lifts. While they sleep, God is working because you prayed at night. When they wake up, God is already preparing their path because you prayed at dawn. When they face challenges at midday, God is sustaining them because you prayed at noon. There is no moment of their day when your prayers are not active, when God's grace is not surrounding them, when heaven is not watching over them. This is the power of consistent, intentional, strategic intercession. This is what it means to be a spiritual parent or grandparent, to fight the battles that matter most, not with words or control, but with prayer. You are not helpless. You are not powerless. You have access to the throne of God Himself, and He listens to you because you are praying for the ones He loves just as much as you do. So pray. Pray at dawn, at noon, and at night, and trust that every single prayer is heard, valued, and answered in ways that exceed your ability to comprehend. At every hour of the day, entrust your children and grandchildren to the merciful heart of God. Let that be your mantra. Let that be your confidence. Let that be the rhythm of your love. Because when you do this, you are participating in something ancient, something powerful, something that has changed the lives for centuries. You are standing in the tradition of the saints, the martyrs, the mothers and fathers and grandparents who knew that prayer is the most powerful weapon we have. And you are releasing that weapon 3 times a day, aiming it directly at the needs, the struggles, the destinies of the ones you love most. This is your calling. This is your privilege. This is your gift to them, so do not delay. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Start tomorrow morning. Open your eyes and pray. Then at noon, stop and pray. Then at night, before you sleep, pray one last time. And watch as God, who is faithful beyond measure, takes your simple prayers and turns them into miracles you never could have orchestrated on your own. He is waiting for you. The 3 sacred doorways of morning, noon, and night are open. All you have to do is step through them with faith, with love, and with the names of your children and grandchildren on your lips. And when you do, heaven will move on their behalf in ways that will leave you in awe of the God who hears every prayer of a parent's heart.